Do you think he's good looking? Rate him on a scale from 1 to 10.
I don't know. He looks like a young pup. I don't know. Maybe like a. I'm not rating the assassin. You almost tricked me. No, we're not doing that.
I'm going to say numbers and I want you to shake your head.
No,
We won't
no.
show. 8.
Hilarious. We're not doing that. Okay. 7.5. I do kind of feel like Christmas is a scam. Just a little, it's like right when you think you're starting to like, your bank account looks good, you feel good about yourself, then out of nowhere, your brother's like, I want these audiobooks. And then you look at how much they cost and they're $400. Like,
wait, hold on. Let's unpack that. He's reading a $400 audiobook?
I'm being drama. It's not that much, but it is expensive. He's like, he likes the nerdy fantasy series. So there's like so many of them and they're really intense. And he's like, I need this version. Holy shit. Last year I got him like a bag of pistachios or something because I never heard anything about what he wanted. And now he's like, I want this. I want TP5 monogram golf balls. I'm like, what does that mean?
Good taste. Those TP5Xs are legit. I actually, to be honest with you, and we're not sponsored by TaylorMade, although if you want to send me a box of all fly golf balls, I would perfectly take it. But those TP5Xs, Kogan is dead right. They are awesome. I had them the other day at TPC. And they check on the green so nice. Yeah, minor flex. It wasn't the stadium course. It was just the Dye Valley course. So it's not that big of a flex, but he has good taste. Let me ask you this, Connor. For your family, what is an appropriate amount of money to spend on a gift?
It's so hard because I really hate the idea of like me just buying you a bunch of random stuff you'll never use. That always kills me, Like, well, I have to get you something. So I'll just get you 4 pairs of slippers that you don't even like. That was kind of like last year. All of us were just like, I found this at Target at the end where everything's like $5. Did you need, kitchen towels? Like, no. But I think like one solid gift, like last year I asked for a vacuum and the one my dad got me was like $250 from Costco. And I was like, I appreciate that you just went in on one thing I really wanted and made it nice. So I'd say like 300 is probably the most I would spend on my family. But that's also like not everyone gets that. You have to pick one person to buy the expensive gift for, and then everyone else gets like sub $100. I can't afford this life.
Yeah, I think 100 is fair. What's the cheapest gift that you ever got? Barring like cards I ever received? Stuff, yeah. Or what's the worst gift that you ever got?
The year that my like grandma was misled into thinking I liked like fishing or something. So she got me like a little tackle box and all this stuff. And I was like, ugh, I hate fishing. Why did she get me this? And it was really cute and it like had my name on it. I was like, damn, I'm never going to use this.
The worst gift I ever received was actually from my grandmother, who we affectionately call Nanny. And which is weird because Nanny is almost undefeated and she gives the best gifts. Like she is the best gift giver, bar none. She gets what you want, but you didn't ask for it. You didn't think that you needed it, but you're like, wow, this is like amazing. So she has a natural gift giving ability. Well, one year my mom got a little heavy handed. And my grandmother asked my mother, what should I get young Kenny? I was like 5 or 6.
Your rap name?
Young Kenny.
Young Kenny.
Young Kenny. So my mother inserted herself into the gift giving kind of chain of command, which is a huge no-no. You should have just let Nanny be Nanny. That's like telling Michael Jordan, I want you to play basketball this way. You don't coach Michael Jordan. You just let Michael Jordan do Michael Jordan, right? So my mom gets in there. She's like, Kenny needs an educational gift this year. Now, little 5-year-old me, do I want to learn while I'm playing? Hell no, I don't want to do that. So my grandmother comes over on Christmas. She lives across the street, delivers me the gift. I open said gift and I was like, I look at her and I go, you thought I would like this?
No, you didn't.
I swear to this day, you can call my grandmother. She will recite the story line for line. And my mom yells at me. And my grandmother outs my mom in the moment. And she said, well, your mom wanted me to get you an educational gift.
So anyway, my mom and Nanny haven't talked in 40 years.
You think I'm 40 now? But no, 30 years. No, but what ended up happening was my grandmother left. And as she left, my mom killed me. You are rude. That was mean. Just obliterated little 5-year-old young Kenny. Right. And she made me run outside and I go, Nanny, sorry. I really like the gift. And that right there was the gift to my grandmother because she'll never forget that. She brings it up every Christmas and it is honestly like one of the most fond memories of my life. But there's a few lessons here, right? You don't mess with Michael Jordan. Okay. You just let Michael Jordan be Michael Jordan and you don't buy kids educational gifts. Okay. The kids are in school.
Oh, you're okay. I was like, wait, now are you relating yourself to Michael Jordan? But you're talking about Nan. That's fine.
No, Nanny is the Michael Jordan of gift giving.
No one is refuting you at all. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the pod. So today we're going to cover 2 topics, you guys. Both are weirdly controversial for different reasons. But first, Kenny and I cannot stop talking about this, as can the internet and the world. But we both love spy movies. We're obsessed with spy movies. And whether it's like Mission Impossible, Jason Bourne, James Bond, whatever it may be, everybody loves a good spy movie. So today, this is real life. So is it messed up that I related to a spy movie? Maybe. But I don't think that we've ever seen anything like, I don't know, just following the news of Brian Thompson and what happened in Manhattan is just, it does not feel like real life at all. Okay, sorry. Take it away. Give them some context if someone lives under a rock.
Okay, so if you live under a rock or you don't watch the news, I did say this to Connor this week. She's like, wait, what? And it's been out for like a day. She doesn't watch the news. So this was news to her. So for all the Connors out there, we're going to catch you up. So earlier this month, the scenes that we're used to seeing in the movies actually became reality on the streets of New York City. Now, the suspect has been put in custody, which is a whole other thing. But Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was tragically shot and killed on December 4th of this year. So just this month. And he was outside of the New York Hilton Midtown Hotel in Manhattan. And he was actually en route to the company's annual investor conference when a masked gunman opened fire, striking him multiple times. Now, I have watched the clip 100 times, and honestly, there is so much to unpack here. So on Twitter, there were a ton of people saying that it looks like a professional hit, because if you watch the video, it kind of does. He has a silencer. He's very calm and cool under distress. The gun actually jams, and he doesn't flinch. And so it had the look to an untrained eye, and even trained people on the internet were like, that's a professional hit.
You're like, to my trained eye.
No. To others' trained eye.
Mission Impossible 40 times.
No, I do not. He looked and moved like Tom Cruise. No, like a lot of people were weighing in and they were like, this looks like a professional hit. Now, the suspect has been brought to custody. And the craziest thing is it just on the surface, now we don't know how this will age, but on the surface, it just looks like he was a normal kid. Now, anytime that anyone gets killed and murdered, it's sad. So we're going to, of course, like the disclaimer here is like, we're not making light of the murder, but I do want to unpack.
Like everyone else on the internet.
Yeah, everyone else on the internet has been going a little bit crazy. And in my opinion, kind of taking it too far. Like this guy did have a life, like he's at the head of a big organization. Does he deserve to be killed? No, right? Like that's not the world that we want to live in this like vigilante Gotham craziness, right? But there are 3 crazy things that I do want to kind of double click on. So first, on the bullet casings were the words delay, deny, and defend. Now, that is insane, and we're going to talk about that. Second, this whole incident really brought to light how screwed up the American healthcare system really is. And I think almost everybody either has directly dealt with this or has known someone who has had a difficult run-in with our healthcare system. And lastly, and this is probably where we'll start, is usually when people get murdered in the streets, there is an outrage. Like think George Floyd, right? There's thoughts and prayers, there's protest. It's an entire thing. But for this murder, things were actually different. And the weirdest part of it, and where I kind of want to start, is the internet almost celebrated it.
I don't go on Twitter or TikTok, which I'm sure is crazy. But at least from my tumbling and my Instagramming, the comments are horrific and hilarious. And I wish there were more sad comments.
The tweet says, alleged gunman lookalike contest in my bedroom tonight. And it shows 2 pictures of the gunman checking into his hostel.
And why was his mask off?
Okay. And his mask was off because he wore a mask.
Because he's an absolute dog.
He's an absolute dog. And supposedly the rumor has it is he was checking into his hostel and he had a mask on, and the female worker behind the desk asked him to drop his mask, and he took it as a chance to dart a little smile and flash a little flirt, which goes to show you that even people who are planning murders have an intrinsic need to flirt with hospitality workers.
It is human nature. Okay.
If there's a pretty girl behind the desk, it's like a reflex.
I will say the level of calm with this man, like the video that you showed me of him actually doing it, insane. He's just like, boom, boom, gets on a bike, like goes and bikes away. And then here he's just getting a Big Mac, just flirting. I don't know. My like one brain cell would be freaking out.
Yeah. I mean, and at this point, this is, I believe, the day before that he did the deed. And so he's in New York to do this, right? And so the level of calm, and then the level of women on the internet that are like, this is my type.
My favorite one that I've seen, and once again, we're not celebrating this. We're here to like really break down like what happened and why. But my favorite one said, I feel safer with him at large, which nobody does, but it made me laugh.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I've seen a bunch where, because now that they know who he is, there's more pictures, and he was like an avid reader. He went to he
loved McDonald's. The picture that they put on the news was of him holding a Happy Meal. And then the day before he commits murder, he goes and gets McDonald's. God, this guy, so predictable. Okay, wait, but let's actually break down. Let's get away from how good looking he is and move into.
Wait, hold on. Do you think he's good looking? Rate him on a scale from 1 to 10.
I'd say if you have eyes, you would say that he's a handsome lad. He kind of gives this like Dave Franco thing or James Franco thing. Do you see it?
I don't see it.
When you look it up straight on. Anyways, we don't.
But put him on a scale 1 to 10.
I don't know. He looks like a young pup, so I'm like, but I don't know. Maybe like a. I'm not rating the assassin. You almost tricked me. No, we're not doing that. I hate this game.
Do you want to play a game where we rate the top 10 assassins of all time, and we'll just stick him in there?
The hottest murderers of all time.
I'm going to say numbers, and I want you to shake your head. We won't show. 8.
Hilarious. We're not doing that. Okay. 7.5. Okay, so why people are mad for real? Let's talk about this. Obviously, if you live in America, we know healthcare is a problem. This is not new. Okay. So when we say controversial, the most controversial part of this whole thing is how handsome he is. Everybody knows healthcare in America is broken. People hate it. We're all going crazy. And we looked at some stats to prove it. So I got a chart up here on the screen, and it's outlining how much per capita the average person in America spends on healthcare. So in the US, it's $12,742. per person.
Per person. That's $1,000 a month per person in the United States of America.
It is truly crazy. The next is Switzerland at 8,000, Norway at 8,600, Germany at 6,000, Canada, and the UK. But here's the rub. So if you think spending the most money on something, you think you're probably getting the best version of it, right? For most things,
seems natural.
Your $80,000 BMW is nicer than your $30,000 Toyota, right? But in America, we spend more, we get worse care. And maybe even if it's not worse care, like as a country as a whole, we definitely have worse outcomes. Or at the very least, we're not as healthy as other countries that are spending monumentally less.
Yeah, I mean, Switzerland, to kind of double click on this, Switzerland is in second place for the most spending. They are a socialist country, and we spend 50% more than the next closest industrialized country. And to our neighbors to the north, Canada, we spend twice as much. Here's the kicker. We actually have worse outcomes. So if this is up on the screen, you guys can look at this. If you're just listening, Japan is the highest life expectancy in the world at 84 and a half years.
I feel like Japan's higher than that.
Yeah. They have a lot of people that live past 100. They're in one of those like blue zones, which I've never watched that documentary because I'm kind of anti-documentary, but I should watch it. I heard it was really good.
That would be a great podcast episode talking about the blue zones and stuff.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in that.
Yeah. So Japan comes in at number 1 at 84.4 years. Switzerland, who was our number 2 in terms of spending, comes in at 84 years. And then the United States, where is the United States in this list? We are not in the top 10 of industrialized countries. Our average life expectancy in the United States doesn't even break 80 years. Germany, New Zealand, Netherlands, Canada, Norway, Sweden, Australia, Spain, Switzerland, and Japan, they all break 80 years. The United States, 79.25, which is crazy. So there's 10 countries that are ahead of us, but we spend the most on healthcare. And kind of this goes back to the part where people do not feel sorry for this guy. I kind of see both sides. As somebody who can be convinced of anything, like if you're passionate and well-researched, you can kind of convince me of anything. I hold all of my positions loosely. So I really do kind of sit in the middle here. And I think what people are really upset about, and it's going back to those words that were written on the bullet casings, delay, deny, defend, which was really the first thing that which is the crazy thing is it's a book. So those words are the title of a book that outlined the strategy that American healthcare companies basically use to drive profits for their business and their shareholders. And so the fact that those words were written on there kind of speaks to the motive, and then everyone's reactions really speak to the general sentiment of really like what's happening in the country.
Now you're more like well-researched on this than I am. I haven't seen the news since I was like 12. But what's going to like come from this? Was it just an act of trying to prove a point? Nothing's going to change. Are there talks about anything like altering in the healthcare system? Who's going to take this man's place? Like, do you know anything, or are they just kind of like living in the moment of trying to figure this out?
So I think the saddest thing, and this is just me predicting, but I think that the saddest thing is nothing will change. Number one, because these are publicly traded companies most often. And the point of a publicly traded company is to return money to your shareholders. And the practices that basically got this guy killed, right? Those practices make a lot of money. So what are the things that have changed? Insurance companies have removed all of their executives from their websites. That was pretty crazy. I mean, that came down pretty quickly. And I think private security will now be like a staple of these people's lives. I think if you're the CEO of a healthcare or a pharma company, I think you have to have private security now, because there's a lot of copycat stuff that goes on in the United States. And so if you're an executive at one of those companies and you have the means and your company has the money, I think security is a must. But tangible effects to us, I wouldn't hold my breath and I wouldn't bet on it. 18% of Americans are denied a claim. And I think between 11 and 17% of Americans are not affirmed care that they are requesting. So like they want a procedure done and the healthcare company says denied. And they really do this systematically as a way to make more money. And it makes sense, right? Like the less claims that you pay, the more money you get to keep. So we don't have to beat it to death. We could kind of move on, but yeah, it's just, I don't think anything is going to change. And I don't think that this is the last time that we're going to see something like this either. Cause I think it's going to embolden people that are really hurt. I heard Taylor Lorenz was interviewed and she kind of gave an empathetic viewpoint of like the people. And if we find this, we'll go ahead and plug it in here. But her kind of stance was that the American insurance apparatus is violent towards Americans, and it's responsible for millions of people dying. And I don't know the facts or the research behind it, but when you put it like that, and if there's data to back that up of saying like X amount of Americans have died because they've been denied care, it's hard to feel empathy for like people who run those companies. It's the same thing for like drug companies where like they're selling bad drugs that are killing people. It's hard to feel bad for them. So I get the public sentiment. Although I do not want to live in a world that's like Gotham and people are just being murdered by like vigilantes. I don't think that's like a civilized society, but I get it.
You think there's a chance that they have it wrong and it's someone else?
Let me put on my tinfoil hat for a moment. So I have heard some theories where, gotta ask. Yeah. Well, I've been back on alien TikTok and alien Instagram. So I'm primed for a good conspiracy. I think that this is the guy. But I did hear some interesting comparisons to Lee Harvey Oswald, about how they set this guy up to be framed from the beginning. But I'm gonna bite my tongue because I really don't know enough to like even pitch a solid conspiracy at this point. But I do want to put my like foot in the sand. I think 2025 is the year that the government comes clean about aliens.
I don't know where you're going with your foot in the sand.
No, I'm just, for the record, this is filmed in 2024. It is December 10th. I'm saying next year is going to be the year that the United States government basically comes clean and was like, we are not alone. We know that there's intelligent life. And
no one will give an F.
And I think that's why it's going to happen.
The way that all of these things came out in the last 14 to 16 months about aliens, like the government would be like, oh yeah, we saw a UFO above our base, and people were like, whatever. They're like, oh, there's aliens. Yeah, it's just insane. Like I am like the era of like alien movies, you know? I just feel like the 90s were so aliens, and now that it's becoming slightly real, I just find it shocking that everybody's not like, let's drop what we're doing and band together. Like, I don't know what I want to happen, but you would think that people would just be like, oh my God, we're only working Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are like alien days where everybody forms like, I don't know.
We're getting ready, right?
I don't know what we would form, but like, shouldn't we start like planning up together to figure out like...
How are we
Who's gonna go do what?
Do you know this is my favorite
I want to be in a fighter jet.
Oh yeah, I do not want to be in a fighter jet against a UFO that can just vanish and disappear. No, thank you. I'll be on the ground. Okay, this is my favorite thing. If you are at a party and you want to have a fun and interesting conversation, ask the table this. If the aliens came and visited Earth and demanded you to take them to their leader, who would you take them to? It's a great dinner conversation. I think I learned this from you, right?
This is my question.
This is your bit.
How dare you ask me?
Well, you would take them to me. I understand that. So it's not a question boss, moral compass. I get it, right?
Who would I take this little dude to? or she, or they.
Or they.
Um,
They.
I'd probably,
Eric.
I'd probably just keep it at home. So order some
No.
pizza, play Halo. They're like, "Oh my god, I've been here," and I'm like, "It's a real place."
Wait, the ring planet is real? What? He's like, yeah, it's like not that bad, but the food kind of sucks.
Yeah, I have no answer to that right now, but that is a great question.
It is, yeah.
The
We're here to
president?
give
No, of course not.
no. Imagine they go to Trump and they're like, oh God, this guy, he's like, hello.
Honestly, wait, can we talk? That's his voice. Can we talk about this? So, Jamie was telling me last night, I was like, tell me a conspiracy theory. And he's like, have you ever heard of Ocean X? We went so far down this stupid rabbit hole on Ocean X. Give it a googs. Basically, Elon Musk is determined to uncover more information about this quote unquote eighth ocean called Ocean X that's like closer to the Earth's crust and still has all of these like megalodons and blah 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 sauruses that we thought were extinct. They all just live in this eighth ocean, and all of the oceans have like these underwater like canals that all basically filter into this. Have you heard of this?
Okay. So this actually has some like validity to it. All right. So Ocean X is actually a legitimate organization that's known for its scientific research, and it's actually backed by Ray Dalio. For those of you who don't know who Ray Dalio is, he is one of the most richest and successful hedge fund managers in the world. And he is the one that writes the books that like popular venture capitalists, like if you ever listen to the All In podcast, which is fantastic. Ray Dalio wrote a book called like The Rise and Fall of Civilizations. And it's basically detailing like the arc of like how countries like rise and fall. And so he's actually one of the people who are interested in like uncovering these like secret alien bases, possibly ancient ruins. There's possibly like a portal. Is the Ocean X thing like part of like there's a portal into like Middle Earth?
I honestly don't know. At the end of it, I was so confused. Like, I read too many different. If you're going to get into a conspiracy theory, you should really just go like one or two threads on Reddit. Like, I went to too many different sources. Yeah, and then at the end of it, I was like, is it a portal? Is it a layer in between the actual ocean? Which is what they're saying on some websites is not like its own thing, but it's like where we already are. We just can't access it. I was like, psh.
Like another dimension.
Oh my God. I had just eaten like $90 worth of Indian food. And I was like, my stomach hurts and I feel stressed about this ocean. This is too much on a Monday night.
Well, we'll have to dig into that one. But yeah, aliens are coming. The Ocean X thing, hidden oceans, probably real. There's probably interdimensional aliens that aren't from other stars, but they're from other dimensions and they zap in and out of here. I'll believe any conspiracy theory that, like, I have many tinfoil hats in my house, a whole room actually. So
it feels wrong to talk about sustainable airline fuel now, but should we?
Yeah, I think that we should. Let's go for it.
Okay. From aliens into SAFs. Tell the people what they are.
Okay. So Connor Ann once hit me with this thing where I asked her, what is a popular belief that you believe to be, how did I phrase it? What is something that you know to be true that is unpopular, right? So I asked her this and she instantly screamed back at me, recycling is a scam. I was like, oh my God, that was really passionate. It seems that you've researched that. That's amazing. Do tell me more. She runs through it. I dig into it and we didn't talk about it for like a year. Okay, cool.
I hate talking about it.
Yeah, she loves talking about it. She's giggling.
I feel like the government is going to come for me when I talk about it because I get too intense.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about it for a year in fear of the government coming after Connor Ann. And but I saw something on the internet that was like, hey, recycling is actually not what you think. And then it kind of led me to like popular kind of scams or things that you think on the surface are good, but then in practice are like not what you think. And I think I found my next scam. I texted you about this over the weekend, so you know a little bit about this. But I basically went down the rabbit hole on this one. So the scam that I'm going to tell you about today is sustainable airline fuel is a scam. All right. Here's the background. As many of you know, Connor and I work at a startup, and over the last 5 years, we have attended a ton of industry events, and the topic of sustainability always comes up, especially in the travel industry. And for a hot minute, the topic of the day was sustainable airline fuel, or SAFs. And the promise was that there was going to be some kind of fuel that did not contribute to carbon emissions. Sounds great, right? Like green energy, clean energy, amazing,
The right
wonderful, awesome.
idea. It
The
was all
right
there.
idea. Well, like most things that sound amazing on the surface, but fall apart when you get into the details, SAFs fall out of the sky, they crash and they burn. It's a scam, it's greenwashing, and it's never going to happen. And I think I may have convinced Connor Ann to join the bandwagon on this one. So, Connor, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. So this is kind of like a lot of information. So keep up. I got percentages in here. We're just going to like get into the nitty gritty. But as we all know, if something sounds too good, it probably is. So here's why SAFs are mostly BS. The facts on why sustainable airline fuel will never be a thing, and why if you're buying into this, you're getting fooled. First, airlines only contribute to 2 to 3% of global carbon emissions, which is a lot lower than you probably thought. Yeah. Everyone makes such a big deal about Taylor Swift's private jet. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. For a comparison, here are the biggest three sectors that contribute. Electricity and heat production is 25%. Agriculture, forestry, and other land use, aka AFALU, is 24%. And industry is 21%. But here's the major issue. It's not that air travel isn't a significant part of global emissions or we shouldn't care about it, but it's that we live in a competitive marketplace and SAF is way too expensive. So the idea behind SAF is that we replace regular old jet fuel we've been using forever with something cleaner and something that claims it's better for the planet. Good idea. Not that practical. So here's the catch. SAF right now can cost 2, 3, maybe even 4 times what we pay for conventional fuel. And what does that mean for travelers, you guys? If the airlines start using that at scale, 4 times normal jet fuel, and that means they are going to bump up their costs and we're going to foot the bill, right? The travelers. Tickets are going to get pricier. Airlines aren't just going to eat that extra expense, and we're all screwed. So what happens after that is that the carriers that stick together to regular jet fuel might have cheaper tickets and make them more competitive in the market. Supply and demand. So while one airline tries to be green and adopt SAF, sustainable airline fuel, another airline that skips the eco-friendly route could undercut them on price and win us over. So next thing you know, we got like the carbon emission people and the eco-friendly people. And those are those are the tickets you're buying. So the point of running an airline is to make as much money as possible, of course, so you can return capital to your investors. And this all means that unless we figure out a way to bring sustainable airline fuel costs down, whether it's through the government subsidizing it, breakthrough tech, some serious economies of scale, I don't know, but it's going to be tough to convince both airlines and passengers that cleaner fuel is worth the added expense, which I feel like that's kind of the case for everything eco-friendly, right? Like, we're getting towards, solar. When I was back in 1996, when Connor Ann came into the world, how many residential homes had solar? It takes like decades and decades to implement things like this. So even though we're talking about SAFs being used for all airlines, it would probably take a monumental amount of time to implement that. But in a nutshell, SAFs, they might be a great idea, but until it's economically viable, it's probably going to face a really long, hard uphill battle in the market.
So I want to kind of chat about those economics specifically. And so first of all, trust me, the airlines are not going to lose market share or business by selling a product that is more expensive for no tangible reward. That's basically, and you want proof of this, the low cost carriers of the world were offering these like really low prices for this like kind of bare bones like product experience. So what did the airlines do to compete with low prices? They introduced the basic economy fare, right? Where there's a bunch of restrictions and it's kind of like a crummy fare. Basic economy fares were just to compete with low prices. So the airlines are under fierce competition, right? And it's a very low margin business. So I don't see this happening. And I do not think that the government, especially the incoming government here in America, is going to regulate this into existence. That's, I would say, virtually 100% not going to happen. So let's actually break down how adopting SAF would impact the cost of a single ticket. Okay, so historically, fuel represents about 20 to 30% of an airline's operating expenses. Let's actually pick a midpoint there and say that fuel makes up 25% of the operating cost of a flight. Now, here's the kicker. SAF can cost anywhere from about 2 to as much as 4 times the price of conventional jet fuel, especially if you're talking about basically replacing 100% of current jet fuel with 100% of SAF with no blending. For the sake of
blended?
Yeah, so here's the kicker. They can be blended, but there's not a lot of long-term studies done on like how the blend impacts like parts and engines and that stuff. So they can be blended. But the blending doesn't really solve the problem, right? Like you almost have to do it because airlines only make up 2 to 3% of global emissions. What does blending get you? It gets you what, a 0.25% reduction? It's nothing. So why even do it? It's like, if you're going to do it. If you're not, then don't do it. Right. So let's take an example of a $400 ticket from Orlando to New York. Adopting SAF would significantly increase the cost of that fare. Let's assume a moderate scenario where the total cost of operating a flight goes up by about 30 to 40% due to SAF adoption. If the airline is going to need to pass a large chunk of that onto the passengers, so your ticket is going to rise proportionally.
And they're already rising.
They're already rising. They're getting more expensive.
Again?
Yeah, again, right? So a 30 to 40% increase on a $400 fare would be in the range of $120 to $160 extra per ticket. With more extreme SAF price hikes, say 4 times the cost, this increase could be even higher, approaching $200 per ticket. So, wrapping up, SAF is a scam. It will never happen, and pursuing it as a strategy is dumb. The reason that it's dumb is because, trust me, and we're on the front line of this, customers are not going to pay $150 more per ticket when there is an airline that they can choose that operates the same route at a similar time on a similar product. You guys all fly the same planes. They're Boeing or Airbus. It's the same product. They're going to fly on the other product that is $150 less. And unless the government comes and says, we're going to artificially penalize consumers and make it more expensive to have a 1% reduction in global emissions, just ask yourself that. Like, are all those things going to happen? The answer is no. And any reasonable person would basically come to the same conclusion that, sure, it sounds great, but we have to live in the real world. And this is one of those things, not maybe like recycling, because I don't have enough data, but I trust Connor Ann. But this is kind of a scam. It's greenwashing. It's never going to happen.
I just learned what that means, you guys. Go ahead.
You want me to say?
Yeah, what if they don't know?
Well, if you don't know what greenwashing is, it's when you adopt some kind of like eco-friendly stance to
Did you just have an exorcism?
No, I just burped.
Eco.
Yeah, but it's some kind of eco-friendly stance that you adopt to, appear to have the moral high ground, right? So it's kind of like, oh, we use eco-friendly fuel, so we're good for the environment. It's like, okay, what are you really doing? And then
it's like Smoothie King using like paper straws when they just have like massive styrofoam cups.
Yeah.
Quit it.
Yeah. Well, and then this is a little bit of inside baseball. I talked with one of the executives that works at an airline, and they told me off the record that they were selling carbon offsets. Okay. So that means that you buy your flight and you're like, I want to offset the cost of the CO2. And their average carbon offset was $12, I believe. And they said that they virtually had no one pay the extra $12. So if you think that you're going to get virtually no one to pay $12 extra to offset your CO2, which is basically what this alternative fuel does. If you think that you're going to get, if no one will pay the $12, good luck getting them to pay the 150.
They only care if you ask them in front of other people at a dinner party. If they're
Yeah.
booking their flight alone at home. No.
No
Do
one
you
cares.
donate to the dogs at Petco unless the lady's looking at you while that pops up? No.
No.
I did accidentally click $10 one time because I meant to click decline, but they were right next to each other. And I was like, fuck.
Got
to
him.
sick dogs in need. I was like, damn it.
Damn it. They got you.
All right. I think we should wrap up here. 42
I think it's
minutes.
over. Yeah.
I think we're done here.
We're done here.
Amazing. So SAF, sustainable airline fuel. If you hear anybody talk about SAFs, maybe now you'll have a little bit of context. You can throw some, you're like, that's dumb because it's just going to up the prices. And people are like, oh my God, Angie, wow. How'd you know so much about this? We might pop in something about this UnitedHealthcare fiasco in the next episode once the story keeps unfolding. And yeah, don't go bankrupt buying your family Christmas presents. Just don't do it. They love you anyway.
$100 max. Yeah.
Go to Dollar General, go bananas. And sometimes getting like 50 small gifts is more fun than one big gift, you know?
It's true.
All right. Well, have a good day, good morning, whatever it may be. And if you want us to talk about anything in particular, email hello@travelnerds.co. But other than that, later, nerds.